Next year, the government anticipates taking in $4 billion more than in 2017. Moreover, personal income taxes will not be raised. Rather, the additional revenue is expected to come exclusively from economic growth. These are absolutely realistic incomes. They will be provided by three main categories of taxes. In particular, the tax on incomes of physical persons and enterprises. The lion's share of the increase in budget revenues will be provided by VAT, from goods imported from abroad due to the growth in the volume of trade, and by making the customs more transparent. Additional revenues for the government will be spent on increasing social standards. The living wage of Ukrainians in the next year will grow by 9% and the minimum wage by 16%, raising it to $163. Among the priority areas of financing are defense, healthcare, and education. $1.3 billion is allocated for the improvement of primary and secondary school education alone. The government explains that the budget is based on a rather conservative forecast, but it is nonetheless optimistic about Ukraine's economic situation in the coming year. It takes into account 3% of GDP growth, 7% inflation, and the average annual exchange rate of 30 Ukrainian hryvnia to $1. The government plans to stabilize the national currency through further deregulation, decentralization, and privatization of state-owned enterprises. This budget includes a significant increase in the financing of education. Salaries of teachers will be increased by 1/4. An additional $400 million will be spent on healthcare, including the expansion of rural medicine, improvement on first aid, etc. That is, for all those programs envisioned by the reform of the industry. Capital expenditures have been significantly increased. Road construction was allocated an unprecedented amount, more than $1.5 billion. The government emphasizes that the budget fully meets the requirements of the IMF program. Kyiv plans to receive the next tranche from the fund before the end of 2017. Funds from the IMF do not go to finance the budget. They are instead sent to the reserves of the National Bank. This money is not directly related to the budgetary parameters, but affects them. Cooperation with the IMF is a sign of financing of Ukraine by other international financial organizations. This is support for reforms that are needed by our country, new investments, not by the IMF. This naturally contributes to more dynamic economic growth. Government officials assure that the budget will be adopted on schedule by December 2017. The approval procedure for the budget will begin at the end of the week in Parliament.